Hello, everyone, and welcome to our last webinar of the Early Adolescent Stay Calm and Well series. I'm going to introduce to you Olivia Weinberg. She is one of our nursing students, and she's going to be presenting resiliency, gratitude, and positivity. All right, go ahead, Olivia.
Hi guys, I'm so excited to be able to deliver this last webinar to you guys. We're going to focus on these three things and what they kind of mean in tackling COVID, as it seems to kind of, mess up our lives a little bit, but show us how we can come out stronger because of it. So we'll get started. So this is me. As Kate said, I am a student at Ohio State. I will be hopefully graduating in May, finishing up my last year here. So I really wanted to talk about this particular topic because it's something that's super important to me. And it's not only applicable and you can use it to kind of figure out how to navigate and get through the COVID situation, but also the skills can be used in everyday life. We always want to utilize and use what we used and learn from the past couple of weeks. So some ways we can do this is learning and using what we learned in last week's webinar about tuning into our body's hunger cues and constructing balanced plates when able, watching 2 cooking videos. That's something that's super fun and kind of exciting to learn new dishes, but also can create kind of that, community feel as well. So while all jokes aside, I think we can all relate to one of these or more than one of these memes. But there are a lot of negative feelings that we have right now, especially about the COVID situation, how it's affecting our lives, our school. I know, my brother, he is going into 8th grade, so he's right around your guys' age, and he's been feeling a lot of negative emotions, not being able to see his friends as much, if at all, and having to wear a mask, and just those daily changes that can feel kind of hard. And so I definitely want to say that I completely understand that feeling, but we're going to figure out some ways and some tactics to resolve them and kind of deal with those feelings. On top of it, I feel like we're all on social media so much since we don't have that much to do. And social media has kind of, encouraged that negative mindset. And while some of these things might be true, as far as the headlines and the impact that COVID is having on our businesses and that kind of thing, it's not always the best idea to constantly reemerge yourself and really focus on all the bad things that are happening. We want to focus on what good can come from this and how we can be resilient. And so that's what we're going to talk about throughout this presentation. So some common responses, the CDC actually recorded that these are the common responses related to COVID. They can be difficulty sleeping, feelings of isolation. So that means kind of that loneliness feeling or feeling like you're by yourself. Increased levels of distress, meaning just elevated levels of being stressed out. Worsening medical conditions. And these are not good things. I mean, it's hard to argue that these would be positive reactions to a pandemic, but it's important to learn how we can handle and deal with some of these feelings, difficulty sleeping, that kind of thing. So we're going to figure that out today. So as I said before, one of the big key words that we're going to focus on throughout this presentation is resilience. And resilience is one of those words that I feel really captures a really big feeling. Amit Sood said, "It is the core strength you use to lift the load of life." Resilience is kind of like that little spark that you find yourself when you are kind of at the end of your rope and you're kind of feeling like everything's kind of going wrong. It's that thing that keeps you going and the thing that helps you overcome the obstacles. So I really liked these pictures because I feel like it illustrates the word resilience really well. I like how this guy has his hands on his hips, like he can tackle whatever's in front of him, even though he knows it's going to be difficult. And science has some good news about resilience because we can increase it through growth and practice. And this is the perfect opportunity to increase our resilience. It's like, what do they say? Like if you have a hard situation, you can either learn from it and grow from it, or you can harp on it. And so I'm hoping we can all take this opportunity, as hard as it is and as, kind of negative as it is, to kind of grow with it and learn from it and look back and realize how much we have grown. There are 9 attributes to building resiliency skills. They are composure, patience, acceptance, sense of purpose, forgiveness, connection, kindness, optimism, and gratitude. And we'll go through them one by one and kind of talk about what these mean and how they build the overall resiliency. So composure. So this picture pretty much sums it up. It's finding the peace in the hecticness and the chaos of life. So disrupting event shifts our thinking from rational to reactive. So just drop your cell phone. When we have an event like COVID or something that's kind of out of the blue that kind of rocks our world, we go from thinking about being rational or thinking logically and clearly to reactive, how we feel about it. And while we need to address those feelings, it's not always the best to make our decisions and fly off the handle, So we want to pause and consciously think about how we want to respond, not how we are or should, but how we want to. And there's some peace in finding that you have control on how you respond. And I think that's one of the main things that we should talk about in this webinar is, even though we should respond, or our feelings are telling us that we should be angry and lash out, and you can't see your friends, so you might want to yell at your mom for not letting you go or whatever. But finding that composure and realizing that this is a issue that is kind of rocking all of our worlds, not just yours or not just mine, can kind of help bring us perspective. Patience. I think we've all heard this word. I know I have when I was growing up. It's active listening. It's delaying how we feel about something and actually hearing what the other person says before formulating a response or before thinking about what to say next. Patience is just, taking your time and active listening, not passive listening. Optimism. Optimism is staying hopeful and positive even on the tough days. I am resilient, remembering happy moments. It's kind of like seeing the bright side of things. It's looking for the silver lining. It's always looking for the sunshine and that kind of thing. Optimism is something that I feel like a lot of people have been struggling with through COVID, because we're always thinking about all the bad things that have happened with it. And it can be a little difficult to find some of the good things, but maybe you've gotten super close with your family because you've been spending all this time with them. Or, like I know my family just adopted a new dog. And so we've been spending a lot of time like training a puppy and that kind of thing. And it's kind of finding the brighter side of things, even when things are tough. Handling uncertainty. We want to choose acceptance, and most of us love controlling, not just the way, the way we cut our sandwiches, but also how life goes. And unfortunately, we can't control what happens in life. I don't think we really have been able to control a lot of this pandemic and what has happened from it. We kind of have to go with the flow, handle the uncertainty, the unknown of what's going on, and know that you can do it, you're going to get through it, and that you have people who stand behind you, who support you. A support system is super important when handling uncertainty. And just knowing that, I don't have all the answers, or I don't know what's coming next, but I know that I can make it through it. That's the biggest thing. A good reason to get out of bed. This is your sense of purpose. So when we're thinking about resiliency, we want to talk about what keeps you motivated, what makes you jump out of bed and say, I'm ready to tackle the day. Something that I do and something that's advised by even scientific professionals is writing your get out of bed, your why down. Write it down, hang it on your mirror so that when you get up, brush your teeth in the morning, you're reminded of what made you get out of bed today and how you can motivate yourself throughout the day. Quick to let go of a grudge. So this is forgiveness for loved ones and friends who will disappoint you and have misunderstandings. Again, you have the choice on how you respond. Do you want to respond to this pandemic with feelings of just Debbie Downer, kind of just, my life kind of stinks because of this and all this other crazy stuff, which it might be hard to find the positive things, but we want to focus on the forgiveness and healing of holding a grudge versus focusing on the hurt. Just as in the pandemic, we want to focus on the great learning and growing opportunities that we have been given instead of all of the bad things that might have happened from it. And this in turn you will see more joy in your life when you choose to, take the high road, for lack of a better words. Satisfaction with people who are close to you. This is kind of combating that isolation or that feeling of loneliness that the CDC talked about in one of our first slides about the common responses to COVID. So when we have that connection to people, strong relationships will endure. So strong relationships with a few people will help nurture hope and courage. Also helps boost physical health and longevity. And that's kind of just a fancy word for saying it will help you feel much better. So even if you just have close friends that you FaceTime every Friday, or something that me and my friends have been doing is we do a Netflix watch party once a week. And those are kind of ways that you can build that community, but also keep yourself and your family safe. And we also want to remain kind to others. Like I said, it can be really easy to feel all those negative emotions, but if you actively choose kindness, you will feel so much better. This is kind of hard sometimes, especially on the days that you don't feel good or you don't feel like, everything's going wrong. We've all had a day like that. But if you try to just compose yourself, like one of the first things, composure, and remember that, we're all human, we're all going through this, and to be kind, you will also feel a lot more joy. It helps with coping and it helps with healing. Next, we're going to talk about gratitude. So this is like the second part of our webinar today. Gratitude is helping people experience more positive emotions. So gratitude is just being thankful. It's recognizing that you have good things in your life. You have people who support you and love you. Even though today might be a hard day, I know that I have food on the table. I have a bed to sleep in. The sun is shining. It's finding those little things about life or the big things and being grateful for them. In positive psychology research, gratitude is strongly and consistently associated with greater happiness. So this is a scientific fact that when you are thankful and grateful, you will have greater happiness. And that's all what we're after, right? We all want to be happy. So why not be a little bit more thankful? Gratitude improves many things. It improves your self-acceptance, so that feeling of I'm okay with who I am and I love myself. It improves sleep, it improves relationships, and it improves optimism and that feeling of I can do this and there are good things even on the hard days. So it improves relationships. So this is kind of a scientific study that showed this in real life. And in essence, it shows that when we have gratitude, in turn, our relationships kind of They kind of like evolve. And what I mean by that is when we are thankful for what we have, we trust each other more. This was a study that was between patients and their families and health professionals. And it talks about reciprocal gratitude. And when we say reciprocal, we mean on both ends. So patients and their families had gratitude towards or were thankful for the health professionals. And in turn, health professionals were thankful for and grateful for patients and their families. It also promotes relationship formation. So that connection that we're talking about, that sometimes we need a little bit more in times like these, gratitude helps form those connections. And it improves teamwork, which is always a good thing. We always want to work together as much as we can because that also improves our relationships, not only, but it improves, our efficiency and how well we get through the day. Gratitude increases dopamine and serotonin in the brain. And this is kind of a cool fact. So dopamine and serotonin are they're like the things that make your brain light up. They're two little chemicals that make you feel happy. So when you're grateful and thankful, you're actually increasing the chemicals in your brain that will make you happier. There are a few ways that we can practice gratitude: writing down 2 to 3 things that you're thankful for each day, writing thank you cards and actually writing them out, phone calls, gratitude journals and boards. In this picture today, right there, that says, "Today I am grateful." That is a picture of a gratitude journal. You can find them at Target, or I know I found mine at TJ Maxx, and they're just nice. They give you prompts to write down what kind of things you're grateful for each and every day in different ways, so that it's not just like the same thing every day. Reading a gratitude quote, and small tokens of appreciation that you can give to friends, families, that kind of thing. There are also apps for practicing gratitude. These are 4 really great apps that you can download on your iPad or on your phone. And you can even set a notification so that they remind you each day to kind of log in and kind of check in with how you are that day, and kind of reflect on, what am I thankful for today? What was I thankful for yesterday? I really like that because, it doesn't matter if I'm just waiting for my mom in the car while she's getting gas. I can kind of just click in there, write my positive affirmation or my gratitude of the day in there, and keep going. So this is a picture of Nick Vujicic on gratitude. He says, "Often people ask how I manage to be happy despite having no arms and no legs. The quick answer is that I have a choice. I can be angry about not having limbs, or I can be thankful that I have a choice. I can be angry about not having limbs, or I can be thankful that I have a purpose. I chose gratitude." This is really inspiring to me because, some people might look at this man and feel sorry for him. But what he's saying is, don't feel sorry for me because I have a purpose in life just as everybody else does. And I choose to be grateful for the life that I do have. So let's practice gratitude now and for the next 30 days. So I want to talk more about how we can phrase these statements. So we start off by saying, "Today I am grateful for," and then I usually just number 1, 2, 3. That is just something really quick. Doesn't take a lot of time. It shouldn't take a lot of time to think of 3 things a day that you're grateful for. I kind of challenged myself to think of a different 3 things each day. So I think most of us, our initial responses to this: today I'm grateful for my friends, 2 is my family, and 3 is the food on my table. But I really wanted to kind of challenge myself to think of more little things and be happy and grateful for those things. So yeah, that's one of the prompts that I use. And I encourage you all to use in the next 30 days to kind of think about what it is that you can be thankful for. So this is a question: do you tend to be optimistic or pessimistic? So on the left here is the optimism, and on the right is the pessimism. So you might hear the phrase, do you think of, life half full or half empty? So half full is being grateful for what you do have, the things that you do have. The glass might not be entirely full, but it's half full and I'm happy with that. Or do you think about, the glass being half empty or not having everything, you just have some things? That's being pessimistic. That's kind of harping on the bad things or what you don't have. So that's just something that we can reflect on. I think some days you can flop back and forth. Some days you might be really optimistic and then you'll have a rough day and be kind of pessimistic and down in the dumps. But I think as long as we work on being more optimistic and more grateful, more positive, we can really get through this tough time. So there are 3 keys for happiness: purpose, passion, and pride. To enhance pleasure, look for ways to add fun and joy to your daily routines. And unfortunately, right now, it's hard to, hang out with friends maybe, or, go see a movie, or even, play in your local pool. But like I said, there are lots of ways, especially because social media can be used for a lot of good things too, that we can find ways to socialize with each other and still have that connection. We want to increase our opportunities to use our strengths to achieve meaningful dreams and goals. It's actually a scientific fact that knowing your sense of purpose is worth up to 7 years of extra life expectancy. So I hope I figure that out more a little bit so that I can have that extra 7 years of life. And to enhance pride, look for ways to align your job with your passions, reflect upon your accomplishments. This basically means that we want to be proud of ourselves. We want to look for ways that we can combine our beliefs and what's really important to us with what we're doing in everyday life. And this will kind of help us grow our passion and grow our happiness. Change your thinking to positive and change, my cursor's over there. Change your thinking to positive and change your life. Remember to practice your cognitive behavioral skills. This is a really fancy way of saying that we can kind of look at thinking, feeling, and behaving as this triangle, and they all relate to each other. So how we're feeling is going to control how we think and how we behave. How we behave is how we control how we feel and how we think. It's this kind of never-ending cycle and inner working of our brain, essentially, in our heart. So we just want to be mindful that we want to be rational. We don't want to always be reactive, and we want to slow down and take the time to choose how we react towards the situation. Why positive psychology? Positive psychology is that reinforcing of how we can get through this, how we can do it. It decreases feelings of stress and depression and can be practiced with or without a professional. So you don't need to, go to a doctor or go to a teacher or go to your counselor to practice positive psychology. Positive psychology is something that you can practice alone and by yourself. And that kind of gives us that sense of independence. So I think that about wraps it up for today. I wanted to thank you guys for tuning in, and also for the Office of the Chief Wellness Officer and Buckeye Wellness. These are some pictures of the staff at Ohio State that have graciously led this webinar series. So we really appreciate them and everything that they've been doing for our community.
Don't let your dreams be dreams. Yesterday was said tomorrow. So just do it. Make your dreams come true. Just do it. Some people dream of success. And you're going to wake up and we're going to work hard at it. Nothing is impossible. You should get to a point where anyone else will quit. And you're not going to stop there. No, what are you waiting for? Just do it. Just do it. Yes, you can. Just do it. If you're tired of starting over, stop giving up.
So that's just some motivational words that we can focus on as we kind of go through this, difficult time. I know it can be difficult, and I know that it can be hard sometimes to navigate and figure out how we can handle this and in a positive way, but I think that little girl really said it really well when she said, just do it. Find it within yourself to keep going throughout the day. I meant to save it towards the end after all the questions as a nice little thing, but she must have really had something to say because she kind of popped on there and started going, and I wasn't going to stop her. So if you guys have any questions, please feel free to continue submitting them in the Q&A. And also, thank you guys so much for watching this series. I really enjoyed kind of delivering it to you guys, and I hope you guys have a great day.